Hey everybody, Strong Style Studios here. We got a solo video today since I was not involved in the year-end awards. I'm bringing you my picks, the Orange Dreams picks for the best of the best and the worst of the year 2013 in professional wrestling. I got the rest of Strong Style Studios over here to the side in the peanut gallery, watching my every move here. But on with the show. Okay, so these are kind of the awards for best and worst of the year. So for best gimmick, I chose Bray Wyatt. I think Bray Wyatt's transformation from Husky Harris into Bray Wyatt is just unbelievable because you believe his gimmick so much that he really is that way. A lot of gimmicks you kind of accept but still realize that it's just a guy playing a character. Bray Wyatt you believe is the real deal, and I think his time spent in NXT honing that character has really helped him. I think he's going to break out even more in 2013. He's got a big match in a couple days with Daniel Bryan that might really do it for him. So for my breakout star of the year, normally I pick some guy who's on the indie scene or lower down, who's going to make a name for himself, but I chose Daniel Bryan because he went from kind of a lower mid-card, maybe just a mid-card guy, to being in the main event, to being a two-time WWE champion, beating John Cena in the main event of SummerSlam. That's a big step up from where he was, and it's good to see a new guy in the main event scene that WWE so desperately needs. Not a guy that's just an old guy who's coming back like Batista's coming back right now. They just have too many of those guys they just bring back for a few months. That's not a true main eventer. That's a temporary fix. So Daniel Bryan's a guy who hopefully going forward is going to stay in that main event scene. For the wrestler to watch, I said Kyle O'Reilly. So I went with an indie guy for this one. But O'Reilly to me was looking in PWG like championship material. He did not win, but he's looking like a guy on the indie scene who a lot of people compare him to Bryan Danielson. I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but he could be the next indie star. He became very over at PWG. I think he could continue to become over, not only in PWG, but ROH and other promotions as well. For my most overrated, someone whose push continues to baffle me is The Big Show. I don't understand why this guy is getting... I don't mind him being there on the show and being an attraction, but to have him win titles and be in main events is absurd to me. The guy is way past his prime. That match he had with Randy Orton was just abysmal. He obviously can't cut it at the main event level, and I don't think he ever really could. So my choice is The Big Show. For most underrated, I said Antonio Cesaro. He's a guy who still has a lot of time to be able to break out, but I feel like after he had some great matches and he had that awesome big swing moment on Khali, I felt like they could have used him to break out already in 2013, and they could have already had him be doing a lot of good things for him, and they didn't really utilize him. Most improved, I said Tommaso Ciampa. He went from being a pretty decent mid-cardish guy in ROH. He got injured. He came back from injury with fire under his ass. He was absolutely dominating. He looked like a new, determined wrestler. He looks like a guy who's hungry, putting on great matches every time, and he's a guy, 2013, I said Kyle O'Reilly's a guy to watch. Tommaso Ciampa could be a guy who raises into ROH title contention within the next year. For Female Wrestler of the Year, I said cheerleader Melissa. In terms of in-ring, what I saw of her in-ring, she had a great feud with Saraya Knight, was probably the women's feud of the year. She wrestles in Shimmer. She's been carrying the strap, putting on consistent, really good matches. For me, a lot of people say AJ Lee just because she's the main person in WWE. She's had a very good year, but I think in terms of in-ring skill, I'm going with cheerleader Melissa. The worst TV show, Impact, I'm guessing that's a unanimous choice, just became unwatchable for me. I can't even watch. I no longer even watch it just because it just became so choppy. Nothing makes sense from one segment to the next, from 1 week to the next. The continuity's awful. Impact has just become a mess. Best TV show, I went with Raw. The reason I went with Raw is because the quality of the wrestling has improved so much. I mean, they've been having not every week, obviously, but they've had several either 4-star matches or close to it on a pretty regular basis, and that's pretty unusual if you've been following Raw for many years. They've been featuring many more guys, younger guys, The Shield, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, guys who've been putting on great matches. Best talker, I went with Paul Heyman, the guy, he just understands wrestling from a manager standpoint. as well as anybody. He just knows how to get a reaction. He knows how to make you hate him while loving him at the same time. You appreciate his talent, but you still want to see him get beat up, and that's the mark of a true great in that field. My promo of the year, Paul Heyman again was involved in this. The promo was CM Punk prior to SummerSlam when Brock Lesnar was involved. When you put two guys who are that skilled at promos together, Punk and Heyman, you're going to get fireworks, and that's what we got. That's my promo of the year, and it stood out in a year of... this was a great promo, but I felt this year was overall lacking in memorable promos. This is one that definitely stood out. Worst feud of the year, there was a couple pretty crappy feuds, but I went with Big Show versus The Authority because there was no reason for it to happen. It happened in the middle of this other big storyline. It seemed to shift from one thing to another and then just shift back with no reason. The match Show had with Orton, as I said before, was just complete garbage. There was no reason for him to be involved in the storyline in the first place. That was a really bad feud. For the best feud, for me it's obvious. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kazuchika Okada from New Japan. These guys had just one of the best series of matches of all time. This year they had 3 matches that I would rate 5 stars, which is like Flair Steamboat has been the only ones who've ever done that in my opinion prior to this. And they had another time limit draw match that was like 4.5 quality. These guys, from a wrestling standpoint, you could argue this is the best ever. I think Dave Meltzer said this is the best in-ring feud of all time within a year period. Better than Flair and Steamboat, which I don't quite agree with, but this is as close as you're going to get. So yeah, it's mainly from a wrestling standpoint, but it's got to be the best feud of the year. Worst pay-per-view, Battleground. I've blocked out most of this show because it was just terrible. It had a main event that was just a non-entity. It just had several matches that had no reason to be on pay-per-view that I didn't care about. The show top to bottom. There was one match on the show that was pretty good. That was the Rhodes match. Other than that, there was just absolutely nothing. It was a horrible show. Honestly though, TNA's, I'm blanking, Peanut Gallery, TNA's Bound for Glory, right?
Yeah.
It's a big show. Bound for Glory was really bad for their biggest show of the year. I have not followed TNA so much. I've been so blocking them out of my consciousness that I forget what their shows are even called. Best show I went with Wrestle Kingdom. I honestly thought Invasion Attack was one of the best shows of the year, but Wrestle Kingdom just had that big feel. It felt like a WrestleMania, and like it would be one of the better WrestleManias if you're putting it up there with them. Just had a wide variety of awesome matches. You had Tanahashi Okada. You had the awesome 3-way match. You had Nakamura against what's his name? Sakuraba. I'm sorry, Sakuraba and Nakamura. I kept thinking Shibata. That's his tag team partner. But yeah, Wrestle Kingdom was awesome. Worst match of the year. I said the 14 Diva Survivor Series match because half of these people were not even wrestlers. The eliminations came one after another, and they weren't even finishers most of the time. There's just no reason to have a 7-on-7 Divas match at Survivor Series. This match was pointless. It was really sloppy and terrible too. Best stable, I went with The Shield. They've just been putting on strong matches from beginning of the year to the end, just the most consistent stable, that's for sure. Bullet Club has been very good, but I think the Shield's been more consistent. And also from a promo standpoint, I think Dean Ambrose is I think most people recognize his skill, but I think he's still underrated in terms of how well his promos come off. I think Seth Rollins is very underrated on promos as well. And Roman Reigns is an upcoming star as well. So the Shield has been just great. The best tag team out with the Young Bucks. I think I've gone with them 3 years in a row now, if I'm not mistaken. The Young Bucks are they're just automatic. You know, if the Young Bucks are on the card, you know you're going to get a great match. They've been everywhere. They were in Chikara, ROH, PWG, New Japan, putting on great matches wherever they went. They're the current junior heavyweight tag team champions, and I'm excited for what is going to happen with them in New Japan. But yeah, I got to go with the Young Bucks. Best promotion, New Japan Pro Wrestling, there's no question in my mind. They've put on great show after great show. Their shows that were disappointing were still like 8 out of 10 shows. You had Okada and Tanahashi putting on multiple 5-star matches. G1 Climax is the best wrestling tournament of all time. Just, it seems like when something stands out as bad, it really stands out because there's so few bad things that this promotion even does. When you talk about like the tag team belts being booked bad, it's like, but you compare that to all the good things they do, it doesn't seem like it even matters, just because I don't think I've ever seen a promotion booked this well, ever. You could say ROH during its heyday with Gabe Sapolsky, but other than that, this has been as near flawless booking as you can possibly get in professional wrestling. Most outstanding wrestler, I went with Hiroshi Tanahashi. I think this man is the best wrestler in the world and has been for a while. This guy just, he tells a story in the ring. He just gets it. He reminds me a little bit of, some people are going to call me out for this comparison. He reminds me of Shawn Michaels. Not as good as Shawn Michaels probably, but just in the way he understands how to tell a story within a match. Also, he has great athleticism. He can put on exciting matches too, but really he's a master storyteller. And so for the rest of the year, Tanahashi's dance partner for a lot of his great matches, Okada. Kazuchika Okada, current champion. He's been putting, he rose to the top to become the top guy. Well, you could argue Tanahashi's still the top guy, but the guy who's carried the belt in New Japan has got to be considered the top guy. And Okada took that and ran with it. He's been putting on great matches with a lot of guys who you wouldn't necessarily weren't sure of going in if they would put on a main event. He had a match with Kojima that I thought was near top 10 of the year quality, and also a match with Makabe. So in addition to the amazing matches he's had with Tanahashi, he's put on 4-star quality or better matches in just about every title defense. So my wrestler of the year, Okada. For the fuck you going forward category, thanks Noah for inventing that one this year.
Absolutely.
I'm going with TNA booking. I've been saying fuck you to them for a long time, but so I guess I'm going to continue to say that going forward. Just because TNA's booking continues to be puzzling. It's almost like the antithesis of good booking in professional wrestling. It's just whatever they can do wrong, they will do wrong. Pushing the wrong guys, not pushing the right guys. If you think WWE's booking is frustrating, which it is, just look at TNA and you'll see WWE's like a gold standard compared to them. I have no hope for them getting better unless they get bought out or have major changes. I don't see them getting better. What to watch for? I'm saying the NXT guys / the indie guys in WWE, because a lot of these guys are starting to get a lot of recognition. NXT's getting a lot more emphasis than it was before. You got a lot of young and upcoming guys in WWE who they're simply going to have to push more. And they've gone. I've noticed they've gone away a little bit from their pet projects. You know, like the Wade Barrett's, who's now Bad News Barrett. I hope they stay away from that for a while. Ryback, who they tried to manufacture. They've been going a little more away from guys they've tried to manufacture and more towards guys like Daniel Bryan. You've got guys like Antonio Cesaro. Then in NXT, you've got guys like Sami Zayn. Xavier Woods has been recently featured on the show. You got guys like I don't know what his name is actually. Samurai Del Sol.
Casolto, something like that. Yeah.
We're not sure. But Samurai Del Sol's in the developmental league. You got guys like Pac, who they're apparently very high on, and he's gonna probably come in and blow people's minds. So they've got a lot of young talent that they're starting to feature. Plus, you got guys like the Shield with Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, the Wyatt family. They've just got a lot of young guys who have loads of potential. Hopefully they don't screw it up, but we'll see. Comeback of the year. I've got to go with Goldust. This guy's, he's got to be. Because I didn't think he was ever that great when he was in his prime. Now he's come back and teamed with his brother Cody and been putting on some pretty damn good matches all the time. He looks better in the ring than I've ever seen him. Looks like he's more dedicated than he's ever been to his in-ring work, and also his, Goldust, his character's been honed so much for so many years. Goldust is as entertaining as ever, but he also has kind of a serious edge to him as well. So I think Goldust has definitely been probably as unlikely a comeback as you'll see being this effective. So moving onward to my top 10 matches of the year. I will go in reverse order, which means I'm going to have to turn this page. But my number 10 match of the year, from WrestleMania, Undertaker versus CM Punk. Going in this match, I was kind of skeptical if Undertaker still had it. or if they could put together a great match. Obviously, I'm not gonna question the Undertaker ever again. This guy, every year, I'm wondering, can he possibly top what he did, or can he come close to what he did the previous year? And every year, he's done it. I mean, this guy is just, when it's Mania time, you know Taker's going to bring his A game, and you know his opponent's going to bring his A game, as CM Punk did. This was an amazing storytelling match with a lot of great little moments with Paul Heyman. A lot of great markout moments with Taker's facial expressions, and Punk just playing the classic dastardly heel. This was just a great match. My number 9 was Tomohiro Ishii versus Tanahashi from the G1 Climax. This is one of just many great matches, but this was a match. Ishii's been breaking out in New Japan this year, and this time he matched up with Tanahashi, and these guys told just an amazingly dramatic story where you really believed what was going on. There was a lot of great near falls in this match. I mean, it's number 9 match of the year, and if this is the number 9 match of the year, you know there's some great matches ahead. Number 8, I have John Cena versus Daniel Bryan from SummerSlam. This match was, as a longtime fan of Daniel Bryan, this was a match I really wanted to see. Him going up against Cena, who was kind of the WWE's main guy for the last 10 years or so. So this was really, they build this as kind of the sports entertainer versus the wrestler. And both these guys definitely brought it in this match. They told a great story, had a lot of really cool spots. The crowd was great in this match. This was just what I mean, it was a clash of styles, but they meshed together so well, and that's the kind of match it's the kind of match they needed to have here. Number 7, amazingly, maybe for the first time, John Cena's on my top 10 twice in 1 year. So I got to give props to him for having some good matches this year. So John Cena versus CM Punk from Raw, the match they had on Raw to decide who was going to main event against The Rock in at WrestleMania. This match was, I can't say it was as good as the match they had at Money in the Bank, but I think bell to bell from a wrestling standpoint, this match was better. It just didn't have that story and didn't have that feel. But you got the sense these guys hated each other. They were busting out moves you don't normally see, especially from Cena. So many amazing near falls that you totally bought. I remember Cena hitting a power bomb, and it was like 10 minutes before the end of the match, but the crowd bought it as a near fall that early on, and they just bought everything else that happened. Just fast-paced action. This is the best I've seen him wrestle from a wrestling standpoint. That was one of my favorite matches to watch and rewatch from the year. So number 6, Tanahashi versus Tetsuya Naito, the G1 Climax final. So Naito didn't really catch on as much as they thought they would, but you wouldn't be able to tell from this match. Naito looked like a star, and Tanahashi put him over. This was a really dramatic match. Really picked up pace toward the end. Lots of near falls. This was most years this would be a top 3 match of the year, but this year it's only number 6. So number 5, I have Shibata versus Hiroki Goto from Dominion. These guys had a great feud earlier on in the year, and it culminated at this most recent, the 2014 Wrestle Kingdom. These guys just have this kind of visceral hatred you can feel, and these guys aren't afraid to hit each other. This was just a very hard-hitting match. It had some great spots, like it had this suplex exchange that was just unreal. And this was, in my opinion, the best match between the two, and these guys have very good chemistry, so that's telling you something. Number 4, the first of a, spoiler alert, trio of matches from these guys. Okada versus Tanahashi from Wrestle Kingdom. A lot of people are disappointed in the result of this match, that Okada didn't win, but in my opinion, there's not much to not like from this match. This was the match that showed Okada could be the champion, could be the guy to take over from Tanahashi. It was the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. High drama here. It didn't end up the way many people wanted it to end up, but I still think it's a, in my opinion, 5-star match. So I have 3 5-star matches ahead of it. So number 3, Katsuyori Shibata versus Tomohiro Ishii from the G1 Climax. Most years this would probably be a match of the year. This match was incredible. These guys just went out and said, we're going to steal the show, we're going to steal the tournament, we're going to hit each other as hard as we can, we're not going to give a fuck, I'm just going to kick you as hard as I can, I'm going to make everything, not just look real, everything basically was real in this match. You know, you can't fake. There's a part where Shibata's just forearming the living shit out of Ishii in the corner, and you can't fake that. I mean, it's brutal to watch. I don't know how he didn't knock him out. Just hard hitting. Just told. I mean, didn't have much of a story going in, but they created one within the match of them trying to one up each other, and end up just being a spectacular match. My number 2, Tanahashi vs. Okada from Invasion Attack. This is one of the best matches of the last decade. This was a match that, in terms of storytelling within a match, you can't get much better, really. This was a match that they built off their previous matches, which is what you want out of a feud. And the story was awesome. Tanahashi working over Okada's arm, Okada hurting himself, hitting the Rainmaker. Just, you know, the story of Tanahashi knowing that the Rainmaker is the only thing that can beat him. And this was when Okada won and clearly became that guy for New Japan. Great moment to end the show. But my number 1, and I think a lot of people are going to be split on which of these 2 matches, my number 1 and 2, they prefer. As Noah was. Noah chose the Invasion Attack match.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I chose
which is a great choice. I'm gonna make it 2 out of 3 for Strong Style. Split decision. Winner by split decision. Okada versus Tanahashi from King of Pro Wrestling, but these guys are having it out over here. You can't go wrong with either match, so these are 2 absolute 5-star classics. This match I liked a little more because it involved everything from their feud in one match. It was the culmination of their entire feud. The storylines they've had in their previous matches all were played on in this match. You had Tanahashi kind of playing the heel. You had some twists and turns in terms of entering. I mean, for as long as they went, there was hardly any mistakes in it. This just felt like the ending of an absolute epic feud, and just for that reason, for tying everything together, I'm putting it as number 1. But Invasion Attack is also one of the best matches I've possibly ever seen. So this year, New Japan brought it more than any company has brought it that I've in all my years of watching wrestling. Congratulations, New Japan, on having a spectacular year. Can't wait to see what you're doing in 2014. So now on to the top 5 best and worst things about pro wrestling. Obviously, this is a list that's very open to interpretation, but I'm gonna start with the worst things. I'm gonna start with the shit and rise up to the cream. So it's a cream-covered piece of poop we're working with here. All right. So the worst, number 5, lack of managers and promos. In pro wrestling, managers have kind of gone by the wayside. Not a lot of great promos this year. I think managers were a way to get people over or wouldn't normally get over in the past, and they've kind of gone away from that. I think it needs to come back. Number 4, the state of women's wrestling. In general, it's never been great in WWE, but in TNA it's gotten particularly worse. They've just lost a lot of their great wrestlers. They still don't take it seriously. And it's not even so much like they used to just put them out there for like just eye candy, and it's not even really that anymore. They just still don't give the matches any respect, and it's not clear why they even have it. They just almost have a women's division for the sake of having it, instead of they need to focus on it and build it up. And then in terms of the indie scene, you know, there's still not a whole lot of there's not a lot that's accessible. There's good women's wrestling out there, but it's hard to find. So the state of women's wrestling, I really would like to see it improve, because there's a lot of talent out there. Number 3, indies not as strong. In terms of the main indies, ROH was strong to begin the year, kind of fizzled out. Briscoe getting hurt and having to vacate the title, and the scum angle not working out. A lot of things just kind of came to a head at the same time to kill their momentum a little bit. They've regained it to some extent. They've got some good things going on, so I fully expect ROH to rebound. PWG wasn't as good, but I'm not going to throw any blame at PWG because they're consistently great. But they're just not as epic as they were. And Chikara just ending the way it did and not coming back in 2013 was probably the most disappointing thing for me as a big fan of theirs. 2, WWE's missed opportunities. Obviously, they had Daniel Bryan. They had a big opportunity with him that they killed off for no reason, and they just kind of dinked around for 3 months with him and Orton having pointless matches, putting Big Show in there. Also, Dolph Ziggler was super over after winning the belt, and he lost it again in his first title defense. Just a lot of squandered opportunities in WWE. TNA's downward spiral. Basically, TNA's gone from be a company that has a lot of potential and screwing it up to being a company that's I don't see much hope for unless as I said before, they bring in some major changes. The roster seems very thin. Their booking is really terrible. Their storylines are all copycats and poor ones. There's not a lot to really want to watch on TNA, and I'm not watching them right now, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything. So the top 5 best things. Number 5, factions coming back in wrestling. Factions are something that was big during the Attitude Era and kind of hasn't been as big. But The Shield and the Wyatt family are both going strong in WWE right now. And it's just a cool thing to have a group of guys working as a cohesive unit. You don't see that. They throw guys together a lot, but you haven't seen these powerful units that you don't know how you're going to stop anymore. And the Bullet Club in New Japan as well. For the young talent being pushed, there's both on the indie scene and in WWE, there's a lot of young guys who are nice air guitar solo. A lot of guys who are being pushed and given a chance to shine. This is a time in wrestling where both in WWE and on the indie scene, a lot of the old guard have either moved up or have retired. So they're going to have to. This is something they have to do. They have to bring in new stars, and that's something that they've been doing to some extent, and hopefully they continue to do more of. 3, the WWE Raw's match quality has been way better than normal. It's been awesome. Tuning into Raw, usually we tune into Raw. You know, there's usually one match worth watching. They've had probably more than a dozen pay-per-view main event quality matches on Raw this year, maybe more. The Shield has just been money. Daniel Bryan's been money. CM Punk's had a lot of good matches. Cesaro's had a lot of good matches. They've just had they've had 4-star close quality matches, seemingly at least once a month or so. It's been quite an improvement. So my number 2 is Daniel Bryan being pushed and winning the WWE title twice. The first one where he beat Cena was obviously the better one. It only lasted a few minutes, but Daniel Bryan's a guy who's worked his ass off. He's the most talented guy they have in ring quality, in my opinion, and he's worked so hard on the indie scene and in WWE to work his way up. No guy deserves the push more than he does to be featured. He's really connecting with the fans, and that's something couldn't happen to a better guy, honestly. I don't mean that sarcastically. Usually say that in a sarcastic way, but he's really the right guy to get a push. And my number 1 best thing of the year was just New Japan consistently being awesome. As a wrestling fan, it's rare to see a company that just so consistently puts out what you want to see, or things you didn't think you wanted to see, but you see them and they're amazing. They did so few things I can even complain about. I usually spend a lot of time complaining when I'm watching wrestling, but I just had so many things to feel good about New Japan this year. Alright, well that about wraps it up for me. That's my best and worst of the year. Hope you enjoyed it. For Strong Style Studios, I'm the Orange Dream. See you next time.